What is going on, Notre Dame fans? I am Mike Singer from blueandgold.com here with another Notre Dame recruiting video. We've got a lot to cover. I was on the road seeing a top target in the 2023 class this past Friday. Notre Dame had a huge recruiting weekend, and I also want to highlight one Notre Dame commit who had a monster performance on Friday. Before we dive into the video, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Appreciate you guys in what we're building here at blueandgold.com. To start, we're going to take a look at Caleb Downs, a safety from Mill Creek High School in the Atlanta area. He had a dominant performance. Number 77 overall player in the country, number 4 safety, number 10 player from that loaded state of Georgia. Now, these are clips that I took at his game. See him here at punt return, the moves. There's making one guy miss. There's two. Coming down the sidelines. I was a little nervous right there. Thought he was about to run into me. Makes another guy miss. I mean, big punt return. This guy's just dynamic with the football in his hands. See him here at safety. You see the flip of the hips, comes downhill, makes a stop there to break up that pass. Number 4, that is a big-time tight end recruit, Oscar Delp. He was actually a 7-on-7 teammate with, and now is playing against him. There's a rushing touchdown at Wildcat quarterback. He is just a really impressive athlete. He's not the biggest safety in the world, but there's him in coverage again against Delp. I think he would be very good at field safety for Notre Dame. There's he in coverage against a wheel route that he had no problem with. Versatility is such a name of the game, and he's getting it done on both sides of the ball. See him on a jet sweep. Nope. Don't see anything over there. Let me take the ball up and, juke out a guy and then run a guy over for a few more yards. More on the defensive side of the ball. He hits. He has excellent wiggle. I think maybe my biggest takeaway, there's a nice tackle coming downhill. I think biggest takeaway for him is just how good he was on the offensive side of the ball. And then in the return game, he covers well. He's a elite prospect. See another punt return. If things don't work out with him on the defensive side of the ball, which I have a hard time believing that they won't, he can be a very good slot receiver. He's going to be excellent on special teams, tackles well. Some schools going to get very lucky with Caleb Downs. And as far as where Notre Dame stands, it's funny, his brother plays for North Carolina. Josh Downs is a big-time receiver for the Tar Heels. He's going to see his brother play at Notre Dame Stadium, and he's going there as a Notre Dame recruit because he's highly considering the Fighting Irish. Now, this catch was out of bounds, but I want to include that because it's a really good-looking play on the ball. So he's going to see Notre Dame play against North Carolina. It's going to be a really fun matchup. See Kyle Hamilton against Josh Downs, his older brother again. But Notre Dame is very much involved in this one. North Carolina, he's high on. Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, the schools you would imagine that would be in the mix for an elite safety recruit from Georgia. But again, Fighting Irish love going after those safeties from Georgia. Mentioned Kyle Hamilton a minute ago. Notre Dame would certainly love to add Caleb Downs to its 2023 class. In the open, I talked about visitors for Notre Dame this past weekend. Major Everhart from Tascosa High School in the Panhandle of Texas was the lone official visitor, ranked as a 3-star recruit per Rivals, number 13 all-purpose back in the country, number 84 player from his home state of Texas. Notre Dame had a surprisingly big recruiting weekend when the Irish hosted Purdue just this past weekend, and Major Everhart was the lone official visitor, listed at 5'11", 175 pounds. A 3-star recruit, but when you pop on this young man's film, he is just so impressive. We're looking at some early senior season film here. Speed is the name of the game with him, and he's just an offensive weapon. If you read my articles at blueandgold.com where I mentioned this young man, and by the way, I did have an article where I interviewed him and his father about their time at Notre Dame. Make sure to check that out. I call him an offensive athlete, offensive weapon. He can just do it all. He's playing in a triple option, so it's kind of interesting to project what his skill set would look like at Notre Dame. But play slot receiver, that's the primary position he'll be recruited at. But you better believe that he'll be getting jet sweeps and be used all over the field in Notre Dame's offense if he ends up choosing the Fighting Irish. And as far as his visit to Notre Dame went, The academics was a big thing for him. Seemed to really enjoy those presentations. First time meeting the coaching staff went very well. Dell Alexander, Tommy Reese, Brian Kelly. Met with Matt Bayless, strength and conditioning coach. Met Adam Sargent on the academic side of things. Parents seem to really enjoy Notre Dame. The other schools involved here, some of the Texas schools, Texas Tech, Baylor, TCU, believe Penn State is still recruiting them. Texas is a school that's going to be really interesting. Do they offer soon? Would they offer after Everhart makes a decision? Because right now I feel like Notre Dame is in the lead spot for him if he's willing to leave the state of Texas. I think Notre Dame might be the choice, but would he commit and then Texas offers then what? Because I just feel like Texas is kind of a big school looming for Major Everhart, but Notre Dame has 3 receivers committed. What happens with Amarion Walker? He's visiting other schools. C.J. Williams and Tobias Merriweather seem solid in their Notre Dame commitments. This young man, Major Everhart, is a different skill set. Those guys are bigger. Even though C.J. Williams would be potentially a slot guy, they're all bigger bodied, playmakers at that position. Everhart, a little smaller, but offers speed that those guys may not have. Just the pure 10-3, 10-4 kind of 100-meter dash speed is just ridiculous. Couple more visitors. There was a pair of surprising players from California who made their way out. Nico Iamaleava, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, can't say for sure. Number 48 overall player in the country, number 4 pro style quarterback per Rivals in the 2023 class. Really a big time player. He received his offer from Notre Dame while he was on campus, and Notre Dame shot right to the top of his recruitment along with some other heavy hitters, Alabama, Georgia, really tons of schools are after him. He told me that he wants to get to schools like Tennessee, Penn State. He's going to return to Notre Dame. At least that's his plan right now for the USC game. Of course, the Trojans are involved with him as well. So Iamaleava, definitely keep an eye on him returning to Notre Dame, potentially for the USC game. His good friend Jack Resler, he made the visit with from Mater Dei High School, same high school as Notre Dame commit CJ Williams. This is a player in the 2024 recruiting class. He picked up an offer from the Irish, Maryland, Pitt, Tennessee, Arizona, some of the other schools who have offered this player. Last but certainly not least in this video is taking a look at Joshua Burnham, who's a standout Notre Dame commit this past Friday. Let's look at the stats. 4 tackles completed, 3 of 6 passes for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns, and had 16 carries for 187 yards and 2 more scores. Now, I haven't watched this film yet, so I'm watching it for the first time, just like you guys are, unless you have seen this. So first clips here look like him at the inside linebacker position. No problem getting off a block there. Now here's him at quarterback. Now you'll watch this and you'll be like, man, this kid is special on the offensive side of the football. And he's played a lot more offense than defense because his team he is the playmaker. That's a pretty ball that Joshua Burnham throws. Now he's back at linebacker. Yeah, I just don't think he's played as much linebacker. Look at him taking on the block. And making the stop because he's just, the kid's got to get a breather sometime. And look at him on offense. They just need him. If linebacker, I talked about with Caleb Downs earlier, if safety doesn't work out, he can play offense. If Joshua Burnham and linebacker doesn't work out, first I'd probably see what about him at defensive end at the Viper position, but like an H-back type role. He is strong. He's playing against pretty good competition. He's clearly a great athlete, good instincts for the game of football, speed, vision. I really like Joshua Burnham. Great young man to interact with as well. I have an article up on him at blueandgold.com here in a little bit later this week. Solid commitment for Notre Dame. I'm sure Fighting Irish fans love the fact that he picked Notre Dame over Michigan. I'm sure that's something they always like to hear. Little Wildcat fake, and I shouldn't call it Wildcat because he's just not a Wildcat quarterback, but I love the little jet sweep fake power. Joshua Burnham, guys, big time football player. That's going to do it for this video, Notre Dame fans. Appreciate you guys. Hit that thumbs up, and we'll catch you next time.